Hi everybody, got a 88 528E. This is the turbo shed box. You can see I've prepared a document here to try and keep me on track for this presentation. I usually don't try this hard to get things organized before I just do them without any forethought or preparation. But anyway, yeah, this is a 88 528E. That mileage is not correct. This is not the original cluster. My best guess on the actual mileage is probably somewhere in the 170, 180,000 mile range. When I got the car, the Odo was stuck at 158, 185, and I don't know how long it had been there, but the car, I don't think it has a ton of mileage. There's some things that you can kind of tell. One of the good indicators of high mileage on these E28s is you look for cracking up here at the top of the B pillar, and we don't have any cracking there, so I don't think we do. Maybe we do, if I look real hard. It's hard to tell, but anyway, I don't think it's got a ton of miles. It wasn't super well taken care of prior to my ownership. Yeah, I think it was a typical first, second, third owner type of thing. First owner probably took immaculate care of the car. I don't know how many owners there's been. I know when I bought the car, I got it from Oregon. That's number 2 on my list. Sight unseen, purchased, delivered. My cost as I received the car was $4,100. And there's so many things that I guess I should have asked about. I should have asked, is the ignition so worn out that the key doesn't turn? I didn't ask because I didn't think I needed to ask. So that was one of the first things I had to do, was rekey the car. Okay, Sherman in Texas hooked me up with the ignition and door and trunk cylinder. That was one of the first things I had to do. Was I came to find out once you take the key out of the car, you're going to be sitting there about 20 minutes trying to get the key to turn once you reinsert it. So that was just the first surprise of, oh, so many. Rekeyed the car, go through the regular baseline stuff, spark plugs, valve adjustment, timing belt, water pump, all that. Started to find more stuff that was horrific. I think one that I had forgotten when I was writing this list, but one that comes to mind was oil leaks, of course. They all leak oil. What car doesn't after 40 years of neglect, you know? But I found out one of the things that gave me an insight into the care that this car had prior to my acquisition. Probably can't see it too well, but there's the M20 has a sheet metal tube underneath the intake manifold that drains from the cylinder head back down to the sump. And whatever rocket scientist / moron had put that intake on, they put the spring. I mean, it'd be so easier to show you. So much easier to show you than to describe it to you, but the spring that's supposed to go between the bottom of the tube to push it up and the block, the spring had been coiled, so like it was just kind of bouncing around in the middle of the tube. Forgive the hand gesture. But the tube had, of course, just dropped out of the intake and it was just wide open. So with the M20, there's a slight vacuum in the crankcase, so it was drawing in unfiltered air and dumping oil out all over the intake side of the motor, which is, I've never seen someone stupid enough to do that. I know that tube's a hassle to put in, but that's not the solution. But that was just one of the things I found going through the baseline work. The T-belt, you see there, exclamation mark on that. T-belt was as far gone as I've ever seen that hadn't actually broken yet. I mean, cracked about halfway through. There wasn't a whole lot of rubber left on that thing. Spark plugs, those were exciting. Tried to put the new spark plugs in. Of course, I pulled all 6 out, and they looked kind of like shit. They had some NGK ZGR5As in there, which is the standard NGK recommended replacement. There was varying degrees of fouling depending on which cylinder, and there's more to come on that later. But that was concerning. But anyway, I was like, okay, well, let's put some fresh plugs in there and let it ride. So fresh plugs went in. Except for number 6, I couldn't get number 6 in. I'm thinking, what the hell's going on with this? It's just a spark plug. It's just righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Somebody had somehow removed the crush washer that goes on these spark plugs and tried to drop it down into the cylinder I don't know if it was by accident. I don't know how you could, first of all, how do you even get the fucking thing off? But they had mangled it and smashed it so it was kind of like kidney bean shaped, and it was teetering on the spark plug hole trying to fall into cylinder number 6. So just replacing spark plugs, I nearly dropped a chunk of metal into the motor, and that would have thrashed it even worse than it already was. But yeah, it did spark plugs, cooling system, various oil leaks. I got this thing pretty much good to go, and I was daily driving it as a stock NA 528E. And that was fine, because I wasn't even sure if I wanted to go down this route again. All this turbo stuff is expensive, and I'm getting too old to be spending money on stuff. It gets to the point where it's just like, why am I don't need to do this. I got other cars. I got motorcycles that are way faster than this. This is kind of cool, but I was trying to justify it. So in that time where I was kind of going back and forth, I was stuck right there. I'd gone that far, daily driving at NA. And the next step was, I better mega squirt it, MS2. So that's what it did. I was thinking, and it had some weird drivability quirks. I think airflow meter is probably worn out. I don't know. Rather than screw around with Motronic, I was thinking, screw it. We'll just MS2 is a good way to go. And all of a sudden we can tune and we can work on stuff and we can ferret out little issues. And I have, the laptop just sits right there in the passenger seat. You plug into that little USB cable and you can see everything and you can data log, and it's like, oh wow, this is great. So even before turbo, MS2 was a nice step. But incrementally, as I tend to do things, I'm thinking, well, there's not much in the way now. The plan was to build a turbo E28 and MS2's in there, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, fuck it, I might as well. I mean, I've already kind of, I wouldn't say I committed, but started by parts. GT2560R, that's the same turbo I used back in, I think I bought the first one back in 2006, got that car going in 07. So that little turbo right there, that little guy, itty bitty turbo for a stock ETA. And that's what this was. I had never done a stock ETA, stock cam, stock intake. So I was thinking, okay, let me do a stock ETA turbo. Let's see how that is. Probably could have foreseen that it wasn't going to be too exciting. The big problem was, you see I have a note here about a VE spike with no top end. What I mean by that is it was building a ton of cylinder pressure and making a huge slug of torque at like 3,000 RPM. And then it was immediately rolling over, and so your torque curve kind of looks like this. We go way up, and then we go like this, straight back down. So not super exciting. Real brief power delivery, too much torque, too much cylinder pressure in the mid-range, no top end. The next step was M20B25 intake manifold, and that kind of helped mitigate that pesky VE spike. That kind of flattened that out and extended the power curve up a little bit. We were hitting maybe 50, I think I had the fuel cut at 5,300, because at that point, still stock ETA internal, stock cam, stock cylinder head, just with the shorter, fatter runners of the M20B25 intake manifold. And that was good for a while, but I wanted more. So the next step, ETI head swap, and that was kind of fun. So I built a head on the bench, and I'm thinking, yeah, well, I bet you these guys are going to stop and bother me, see if I'm alright. Of course I'm alright, but maybe they'll just keep driving. I hate those side-by-sides anyway. These guys are dickheads. The scourge of the off-highway vehicle community. Anyway, ETI swap. So I built the head. I had a Cat Cam's turbo cam that I had left over from the original build, which honestly I can't remember why I didn't run it. When I sold the car, I had put an M20B25 cam back in it, but still had that Cat Cam's turbo cam, and I got an M20B25 head. Already had the intake manifold, so I was like, yeah, screw it. Let's go ahead and pull that head off for the head swap. And you see here we had a surprise. I discovered when I pulled the head, cylinder walls were pretty thrashed, especially on cylinders 3, 4, and 5. All 6 had varying degrees of damage, but that was quite a surprise, the scored bores. That was kind of a kick in the nuts. It's like, man, it seemed like the car was good. I built all this stuff under the assumption that motor was basically, I got to that point. The oil consumption is a stock ETA. When we're up here, oil consumption wasn't excessive. I didn't use much at all, really, and it seemed to run pretty well. I didn't really have any indication of a problem, even at the point that it was boosted, until I put that 2.5 head double valve springs turbo cam, raised the rev limit up, and the oil consumption increase was exponential. So all of a sudden, I had a problem. Can't really run it like that. It was bad enough where it was fouling plugs, run that thing up over 6,000, close the throttle, and it was literally just gulping oil. And not across all 6 evenly. It was mostly on 3, 4, and 5. So I ended up pulling that whole motor out. That engine, the other one I had on deck, was actually for the 524 TD build, which is in my backyard right now. Ended up building a whole other motor for that one. But swapped that one in, put a fresh cam, fresh rocker arms, and that's what's in the car now, that engine there. That's been in here for a couple of years, no problems. It's been kicking ass, that thing's been making great power. oil consumption is quite reasonable. I don't even add a quart every 1,000 miles, I don't think. It's probably going to depend on how you run it. If you run this thing real hard, it will use a little bit of oil, but it's not too bad. But well, this guy's going to probably ask me if I need help, so let me pause this real quick. Alright, cool. Anyway, so that engine's in. It's running good. Cam's good. Rockers are good. I didn't go any further into it than that. Jeez, they're coming back around again. So sometimes people are too helpful out here, I'll tell you what. I know it looks like I'm broke down. I'm in this old shit box and the hood's open, but anyway, let's see. Where did I leave off? I didn't go much further into that engine. I didn't pull the head off of it. I got that motor from, I want to say it was Eric in Florida. Hooked me up big time. Complete engine. It needed some work, but altogether it was a pretty sweet deal. That's what I needed him, and this was my go to school car, so I had to put an engine in. Freshened up the valve train and dunked it in. And originally, geez, let me think. I think I had the GT 2560R for a while. Got tired of that. That little guy's efficient up to about 7 or 8 or 9, maybe 10 psi. It's already starting to diminish. Bigger turbo, GT 2876R. That's what's in it right now, and we're running about 16 pounds of boost. That's got a much bigger compressor and turbine side. Pretty comparable to what I was running back in 2008, the GT 2871R. Same 0.86 AR turbine. I forget the turbine wheel size, but it's the same hot side that I was running with the original build. And that was overall, it was a really good combination. That T25 with a relatively large turbine makes really good responsive boost. It's all the time, really. I mean, you make boost 1500 RPM, it doesn't really start to get punchy till about 2000, towards 2500, 3000. It's making all the boost you need. It rolls over a little bit on the top towards 5 to 6. You can tell it's strained a little bit. It's still making plenty of power, believe me, but it's not as efficient as the bigger turbos go. But it's a good all-around turbo, as far as daily driving power. That I got right there, and it's efficient up to about 16. Past 16, it's starting to get a little bit, hot side's a little restrictive, so you can only really expect to squeeze so much horsepower out of that T25. At least that particular T25. There's a bigger one on that turbo diesel car. That's the absolute biggest one you can get. What I like about that setup, the GT 2560R, the 2871, 76, and the 2971, which is kind of like a 3071 with that T25 internally gated, these are all interchangeable. They all have the same turbine inlet. It's a T25. They all have the same GT series 5-bolt outlet, which I can show you. I don't know if I'm ready to go to the under the hood section of this video yet, but maybe we'll come back to that when I'm done yapping about my to-do list here. But all these turbos interchange, so if you want to have a little turbo, low boost, super duper responsive, you just bolt it on. Bigger turbo, even bigger turbo. I mean, this is kind of like in the middle right here, that 2871, 76. These are pretty good overall, all around. They're not as sleepy as the, I mean, if you get up towards like, well, what I have on the turbo diesel, or what I had on the original build towards the end was a GT 3582R. Those turbos make a ton of top end, but they're just lethargic by comparison to these, either one of these, but especially the 2560R. The 76, it's pretty good. Overall, pretty good. Making, I would guess, around 300 rear wheel right now at that boost level. The car stomps ass. It's pretty fast. I might try to get videos. Maybe I'll have to bother the wife and have her do the camera car thing, and I can do some flybys or something. It's really hard to record and drive and not crash your car or, have anything else. The Rio Rancho police has really been out and about lately, so I don't want to get arrested doing 30-year pulse for you. It's it's tricky. So I'm going to try to get some content for you to show you what the car actually does. But anyway, let me see. To get back on track here. So 2876R is what's in it now. 16 pounds of boost roughly. I run a Clutchmasters segmented Kevlar clutch. You see the notes here, beefy but pleasant. It's the best way I can describe it. Those things hold a bunch of power, about 400 foot-pounds of torque, 400 horsepower, no issue. And down here at the pedal, it feels like stock. It's really amazing how they did that. It's just, it's not going to be the kind of clutch where it's going to be tiresome to use. It's pretty easy to go along with, and it'll hold all the power you need. Replaced the clutch hydraulics, got a light flywheel in there. I think that's M20 B25 flywheel. Some of the other work that's been done, it's got a new drive shaft, done the diff mounts, subframe mounts, Control arms, thrust arms. Car was lowered before I took ownership of it. Take it or leave it. That's kind of how I feel about it. I don't care for the lowering. I kind of like the stock ride height and the stock ride quality. But some people really like the way they look lowered. So if that's what you like, you can take it. Or if you want stock ride height, I might be able to do that for you too, because I have a whole parts car with suspension in it. I was kind of keeping that kind of stuff for spares, but let's talk. Let's, if you don't like the lowered situation, we can probably do something about that for you. E90 seats, there you go. 3 Series, at least the front seats are E90 3 Series, the rear seat E28 original stuff, and it's in, not what you expect for original. Backrest not in bad shape, but the seat bottom has obviously some tears. I don't know what they were doing back there, but I fucked the seat up a little bit. Stock fuel system, stock fuel pump, injectors, 30 pounds, about 350 cc a minute, whatever benchmark you like. I'm kind of a pounds per hour kind of guy, but in any case, stock fuel system is about at its limit, I think. I don't know how much excess capacity it has, but the AFRs are good, so at this boost level and at these RPMs, everything as it is, with all this in mind, the stock fuel system's keeping up. Air filter, I'm kind of proud of that little thing there. I guess we can go under the hood. I think I'm done with my my spiel. We can start showing you the car a little bit. Air filter's a Honda Element or CRV item, which I like because they're readily available. It's a large filter, and you see it's oiled, so it really holds on to dust and dirt. There's no way you're sucking any fine particles through that thing. And up here you can see the dust, the ever-present dust. And this is kind of what it looks like if you drive the car for 2 years. You can see how often I have to work on it, which is not very often, because it's just, I don't open this hood under here. Once in a while I'll come under here and I'll give this hose a squeeze, make sure I haven't popped the head gasket. It's old habits, it's not something you have to worry about. The tune is good. You can see that turbo, that's a GT 2876R. The compressor housing is inappropriately large, but that's just that was what I found for a good price. They had the right hot side on it, and that's that 0.86 AR T25. You see we do have a manual boost controller, which has been drilled and tapped, and got I think that's a carburetor jet in there. I was trying to use a smaller diameter bleed orifice. This thing came with a pretty large bleed. It was like at least a 1 millimeter, about a 40 thousandths. I wanted a smaller bleed orifice to see, it's just trying to get the best boost I can out of this thing. That's not the ideal solution, but as it is, 16 pounds of boost, it's running good. Wastegate pressure, I believe that's a 1 bar wastegate, so if you want more than that, you want more than 1 bar, which up here only gets you at about 1.8. Atmospheric up here is about 0.82 bar or 82 kPa. So if you want to get to a full 200 kPa, which is what 16 psi boost, you got to do some stuff. That's what I'm doing here, manual boost control. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You already heard all the spiel here. It's a Super ETA based. It's 2.7i. Stock distributor, stock ignition coil, stock, a lot of this is stock really. I mean, other than the injectors and obviously the turbo stuff. Turbo diesel manifold, they're just, they're bulletproof, you just don't have problems with them. And some manifolds you do have problems with, like those tubular ones. I ran one of those in the past and made great power, but I don't know how much metal I had to weld on that thing before it stopped cracking. It actually was rigid and beefy enough to withstand what I was asking it to do. Turbo diesel manifold, it's just not an issue. They just work. Radiator, that's a BMW radiator. It doesn't look like the original. It's not a Bear, but got it from BMW. That alone is about $500, and I probably wouldn't buy another one. The eBay all aluminum ones are pretty good and a lot cheaper. Coolant reservoirs over here now. Yeah, that's what I've done in the past, and that's what I did on this one. But yeah, idle control, Megasquirt runs it. It's pretty cool. Just a diagnostic connector, doesn't really do anything. It's just a vestigial appendage of the old Motronic system, and I can't bring myself to chop it off, so I just left it. Windshield washer works, that's all fine. But yeah, if you're not familiar with Megasquirt, it's pretty cool. You see there's no mass airflow sensor, there's no airflow meter. It's just, it uses a vacuum line going back to the ECU. That's what it uses for load. Manifold absolute pressure. You can blend that with throttle position. It's got a variable TPS, like a M50 style TPS. But for fueling, that's really all you need. It's very simple. It eliminates failure points and things that wear The airflow meters, really, I don't think any of them work well anymore. Some work better than others, but yeah, I didn't want to clean this up. I wanted to show you what the car looks like. It's basically dailyable. You know, you could run it, not have to work on it. You change the oil once in a while. Spark plugs every, I don't know, 15K or whatever. Whenever you feel like popping that turbo off, you do have to pop the turbo off to do spark plugs, but it's not a big deal. You just loosen that oil feed and oil drain line. The coolant hoses, you just leave them be. I take the turbo off, set it aside up on the manifold, do my business, and when I'm done, it's a few more bolts. It's not a big deal. But yeah, as far as owning this thing, it's a lot like any other E28. It just goes a lot faster. You know, there's not a lot of special care and feeding that's required. Mobil 1 15W50. It's supposed to have elevated zinc. I think they figured out a few years ago a lot of these oils, the valve train wear issues, I believe, were related to competition between the detergents, the calcium, and the zinc and phosphorus. So you could have all the ZDDP you want, but it was being cleaned off as fast as it could be pleated onto the cam loops and whatnot. So yeah, I think oil isn't as much of an issue anymore, but I still recommend the Mobil 1 1550. Interior wise, to show you the rest of this stuff, it's black, decent condition. It's dirty, I know. We have dirt everywhere. I can't keep it out of the car. You know, it cleans up nice though. The carpet's not in bad shape. It's not excessively worn. These front seats are pretty nice out of it, like a 2011 E93 series. This is a factory 5-speed. This wasn't swapped. This is an original from the factory manual 528E. And I must say, I don't want to just gloss over the transmission. This, despite the neglect that this car had experienced, this is one of the well, I don't want to say one of the nicest. This is the nicest Getrag 260 that I've ever had. It shifts so buttery smooth. It never crunches, never notchy, it never misses gears. It just does what you want it to do. It's fantastic. And I don't know how, because the rest of this car was so used and abused, you know. They scored the cylinder walls. The timing belt was about to break. You know, I don't know. Somehow this transmission came through completely unscathed, and it's a beautiful example of a 260. I considered, selfishly, pulling this transmission out and putting in a different one so I could keep this one for my turbo diesel, which, I don't know. I got to sell one of these cars. I'm thinking it's going to be this one. I like the TD better because I've been all up in those guts, both sides of the firewall. This car I never had the interior out of, never had the dash out of. I think the heater core has been replaced because it's missing screws here and there, and it doesn't leak, you know. So just going on that, I think someone's been in there before and done the heater core. Yeah, geez, what else? I mean, I think that's about it. Headliner's not in bad shape. Body-wise, I think I should probably go over that in detail rather than trying to do pictures because there's so many little things. And that's kind of what bugs me. This is as the car was delivered to me. You're going to see just little oddball dents. Little dents in the door. Stuff like that just kind of pisses me off. We got damage here. We got faded paint. Kind of ashy and oxidized. Got a little bit of rust right there, bottom of the rear window. I don't think it's a total loss yet. It's got some years left in it. Should be okay. Trunk lid, someone backed into it. I don't know what the hell they hit, but they creased it and trying to kind of uncrease it. It's not exactly top quality bodywork, but it is what it is. If you have groceries in the trunk, it will still keep them in until you get to your destination. You know, stuff doesn't fly out. So as far as the basics of a trunk lid, it's getting the job done, but it's not very nice to look at. Got a crack in the rear bumper, which has been tucked by a previous owner. You can see I've tried to kick that because I'd like to get that to close up a little bit, but maybe I had to back it into a tree or something, push it in properly. Got some damage to the quarter panel. This has kind of been fucked up. Got a crease here. Again, I didn't do this. Don't judge me. I didn't have anything. I gotta take no responsibility. I don't know how you do that, but someone managed to put this thing up in a very peculiar way. I mean, it's not horrible, you know. This is standing back a little ways. It's not the first thing you notice when you walk up to the car, but it bothers me. Got this fender flare, which has been fixed and then fucked up again. Someone knocked the Bondo off, which is a shame because it looks like they did a really nice job fixing that contour. and they fucking broke it off again. This side, more of the same. Some dents on the passenger front door. I'm trying to get them. It's hard to get them. They're not bad, but you'll see. Yeah, you can kind of see them there. It's got a lot of miscellaneous stuff like that just kind of bugs me. A little there. Got some damage on the hood. The previous owner clearly struggled with the E28 hood operation. I don't think it's that hard to adjust hood latches and stuff like that, but it looks like what they did was they just beat on the hood like some kind of caveman. It was very hard to open when I got the car, but then I was like, oh, it's out of adjustment. Okay, cool. So then I adjusted it, and now it works great. It opens and closes easily. But I think that's what all these dents are from up here. All these little ripples and all these weird dents. Hopefully you can see them in the video. But yeah, previous owner struggled with operating the hood. That's a bummer, because that's completely unnecessary damage. Windshield looks like hell. Could use a fresh piece of glass. I hesitate to do anything as it is now because I don't know what you want as a prospective buyer. I don't want to put a aftermarket piece of glass in there and then, oh no, I don't want an aftermarket. I want a new old stock BMW windshield. Yeah, people in hell want ice water, but if you happen to have one, you're welcome to put it in. You can put an aftermarket one too. If I really wanted to spend $150, $200, I'd probably do that myself. But I've been just driving it like this because who cares? I'm a little bit less concerned with stuff like that these days. I used to buy brand new dashes and stuff. Geez, the original build had new dash, new carpet, new seats. I reupholstered the seats. Of course, you can't get any of that stuff anymore, but even if you could, I'm not sure if I'd spend the money on it. But yeah, I've just been driving it like that with the stars and the cracks and the scratches. Oh, the scratches are probably the worst thing. I could ignore the cracks. There's a crack over there too. But the scratches when you're going into the sun in the morning or in the evening, you know, going up a hill. Yeah, the scratches. Horrendous. But yeah, that's basically the car. Gotta tighten that alternator belt. There we go. Yeah, if it gets a little bit of dust, a little bit of this stuff on it, this dust is everywhere. Seems like after a good windstorm, you get a little dust on that belt, it tends to slip. I don't know, it kind of adds the appeal, the shitbox appeal. You know, you start up a car and it squeals like that, and then you got to keep the shitbox image intact. And having a slipping belt, that really, the car is a chameleon. You don't want to be getting too much attention on this thing, and that's a good way to, you know, keep it low key, keep it under the radar. Starts easy, down to, geez, I don't know what the coldest cold start is. Around here, it doesn't usually get much lower than about 15, 14, 13 degrees. And it's, I might even have video evidence of that. I know last winter, I think the coldest we got was 19. And fired right up, first start, idled, you know, no big deal, right? Just like a car should. Idle control works great. Exhaust system is a 3-inch MagnaFlow. Yeah, I mean, it's not too quiet, but it's not too loud either. It's way better than straight pipe. I did not build this exhaust. I took this car to a buddy of mine who had just opened his own shop, and I thought maybe he would want to, you know, put his own signature touch on this thing. And I don't know, I think I would have done a better job. I didn't take him the turbo diesel for that exhaust. I built my own exhaust for that one. I think when he put the hanger on this exhaust, he hung it directly to the rear subframe and just hard mounted it. And I don't think that's best for isolation of, you know, NVH. So there are times when you're going down the road, 2,500 RPM, 23 to 25, it can drone a little bit. It's not bad, but it kind of pisses off my wife when she's in the car. So, you know, it's fine. Whatever. I've been living with it for a couple of years, but if there was one thing I was going to change, and I felt like going under there and doing a little bit of welding and fabricating, I'd probably modify that exhaust hanger a little bit and make sure it's properly isolated. But yeah, the car, you know, pretty easy to get along with. It's not a project car in the sense that you're going to have to deal with all kinds of weird shit. It just runs and drives like a regular E28 until you spool that turbo up, and then you're going to get a whole lot more. And it drivability's good. I bet you if you put a cat on it, it would pass emissions. I've been tuning and tweaking for, well, I guess 4 years now. It runs closed loop, narrowband oxygen sensor control. As soon as the coolant temp hits whatever the threshold is, I forget what it is, but it's probably comparable to what Motronic does as far as getting that O2 running closed loop as soon as possible. But yeah, just a regular car, no big deal. You can hear that, that's the blow-off valve. It kind of whistles a little bit when it's just barely opening, when it's kind of, when the size of that aperture is just right, it whistles a little bit. And you can hear it's already trying to make boost as low as, yeah, well, right there you hear it blow off. I don't know if it's going to come through on the phone with the wind noise and everything, but it makes boost down here. And if you put your foot into it, yeah, that's third gear for you. It really gets moving after about 3 towards 3,500 to get full boost, and yeah, it starts pulling. Maybe if I'm lucky, I can get away with a quick little second gear pull here. I'm one-handed this thing here. There was a whole bunch of police activity a little ways down the road earlier on my way out. I don't know what the hell happened, but yeah, they had a couple of units. They had a fire truck. They had all kinds of stuff going on. So I'll see if I can have a little bit of fun here and show you what it does. What I like to do. I usually don't bother opening up in first gear. It's such a brief and violent experience. Second gear is more fun. It usually hooks up in second gear. This pavement up here is pretty fresh and relatively grippy. So second gear, yeah, usually hooks up pretty well. You might be able to hear that on the video. The idle has a certain lope to it. It's not the cam, it's a stock B25 cam. Ended up pulling the head off. They had the cat cam's turbo cam, putting that in the, that's on the turbo diesel motor now. Well, formerly turbo diesel. But yeah, this is a stock M20 B25 top end on a Super E bottom end, so pretty good motor altogether. I think I will have an opportunity, so I'm going to try and open it up real quick in second gear. Whee! You know, it doesn't feel that fast anymore. It's certainly fast enough to have fun, but I really like third and fourth and fifth gear better. But, you know, it's fun. And the turbo diesel's faster. It's got a bigger turbo, more boost. Yeah, that one's kind of nutty. I'll have to make a video. Not that I'm trying to sell that one, but that one's a little bit more of an experience. It's it's kind of fun. But yeah, you see, that's what we're dealing with. That's fourth gear. We'll do fifth. We'll cruise fifth gear. Still torquey. The turbo diesel is not torquey. That camshaft and that big turbo and all that, and the dynamic compression ratio is a little bit too low. Oh yeah, there's all that stuff going on still. But yeah, this one's a better daily driver kind of candidate, just on account of the engine configuration. Windows up so I can yap at you some more. Yeah, with the Super ETA bottom end, M20 B25 cam, you have enough compression, not so much that you're going to have to worry about detonation and fuel quality and boost, but you have enough compression that it's pretty spunky down here. Like just around here, I'm fifth gear rolling into it. The turbo's not doing much of that. That's mostly, it's pretty much all motor. It's making a little bit of boost down there, but really not a significant amount. So yeah, I mean, I can cruise fifth gear all day. Here we are, what, 48 miles an hour, just probably around 1700 RPM. And it's got usable torque down here. At least as much as a stock 520/80. And of course, if you want to have a little bit of fun, do yourself a nice rev match, double clutch downshift, put it in a third gear, and see if we don't get arrested doing this real quick. I'm sure the oncoming traffic won't mind if I just spool it up. Times. We just doubled the speed limit. It's really that easy to get arrested in this thing. But yeah, that's basically the car. Hopefully I've been able to maintain your interest in my phone says it's been almost 35 minutes I've been yapping at you. Jeez. Time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, you should buy this car. Price-wise, I really don't know what to ask. What the hell do you, I mean, how do you benchmark it, you know? I mean, Jesus Christ. It's such a weird, unusual, rare. It is cool. A lot of things are cool. It doesn't mean they're worth a lot of money. I was thinking, with what I've got in it, and what I think, I mean, my best guess for how this thing relates to the automotive universe, I was going to ask $12,000 and kind of go from there. Yeah. See, it's hard to put a price on that, but man, I enjoy it. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm starting. And like I said, we can talk about a lot of options. There's things we could do. If you don't like the ride height, if you want to go stock suspension, we could probably do something like that. There's engine options, there's turbo options. I've got a smaller turbo on deck if you'd like to keep it a little bit more civilized. I might even pull this motor out and freshen up the rings and bearings. Well, maybe not the rings, because the rings seem like they're doing just fine, but I was thinking about pulling the motor out this summer just because I never went into it. When I put this motor in, I just, like I said, top end only, fresh cam, fresh rockers. It had double valve springs already, so I didn't have to do anything with that. But never really got into the motor, so I'm thinking, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to pull that oil pan off, take off some rod and main caps, and see what the bearings look like, and maybe freshen them up. Of course, it's doing just fine as is. It doesn't need anything. You could keep driving it just like I have. Probably, geez, I don't know how many miles I put on this. The odometer doesn't work, but like I said, it was my daily for a while. It was take kids to the bus stop in the morning, pick them up in the afternoon. I did go to that, oh, look, dog. Typical New Mexico, we just got dogs running around. Went to that Drive Four Corners meet in this thing. That was last fall, I guess. It might have been August or something. It's a solid car. It doesn't need anything, doesn't leak. I did have hell trying to get this shift shaft seal. This immaculate get drag in this thing. The shift shaft was leaking profusely. I think I've finally gotten that fixed. Although I'm afraid to look. It might still be seeping. God, I don't want to know. If it is leaking, I'm gonna just pretend like it's not. Like, I've put 4 different shift shaft seals in this thing, trying to get them to seal. Anyway, I think that's been resolved. But yeah, I've been through the car. It doesn't need anything, front to back, top to bottom. Except for this interior, and like I said, never had the interior out, never did the heater core, but yeah, doesn't need one at this point, and as far as I know, it's good for the foreseeable future. Heater control valve also works, which is a rare thing for these, you know, usually they fail and you get heat all the time. But this one, you turn it cold, it goes cold, you turn it hot, it goes hot. It's just kind of real simple. That's how they're supposed to work, but they usually don't. Anyway, I think that's enough. I can't imagine what else I need to yap about. Could have showed you what the Mega Squirt looks like when it's hooked up, but you buy the car, you can see for yourself. It's pretty cool. Some real geek shit. I know I was thoroughly impressed the first time I saw a car with a laptop in the seat. It's like, oh man, I gotta have it. Yeah, let's do another pull real quick. Second gear is definitely my favorite. Really enjoy it. This pavement's not as good, so it struggles for traction a little bit. It doesn't completely blow the tires off, but it kind of floats around, and you can feel it kind of scrubbing, looking for grip. Rear end kind of, you know, I don't want to say fishtails, but it squirms around a little bit. It's good times. I wish I could beat this guy. Whee! Anyway, I think I'll call that for today. If you have any questions, please do reach out. Drop me a line. Let's start a conversation. So I'd really like to get rid of one of these cars. I got to register this thing. My tags are expiring in April, and I don't plan to pay the state of New Mexico another $50 because I don't know. I just don't drive this one as much anymore. It doesn't interest me as much. It's kind of it's finished. Yeah, you can hear that drone a little bit. I don't know how that comes through in the video. It doesn't need to be that loud in here. But anyway, the car is largely finished. It just runs really well. Doesn't really need anything. It's kind of and once these things are finished, I don't know, I kind of lose interest. So I think it's ready for a new home. And really, it's pretty clean overall. It's not a hard car to get along with. I think my turbo diesel is a little rougher. It's not close to where this one is in terms of like the overall fit and finish. So that one, mechanically, I think the work is about done. It's running great. But this one, overall, is a little more finished. So I think it's ready to go. But yeah, like I said, please do reach out. Any questions? I definitely have time for that. I don't mind yapping about cars. So hit me up, and we'll talk. Anyway, thanks for your time.